After 12 years of raising Emma as my own daughter, she looked me straight in the eyes on her 18th birthday and said, "You were never my real mom. Now I can choose, and I don't choose you." 6 months later, she called me crying, begging me to come back, because she discovered something that destroyed everything she believed about family. And that wasn't even the worst part. Because what Emma discovered 6 months later would prove that her real mother had been lying about everything, including who her father actually was. My name is Maria Santos. I'm 53 years old, and what happened next would prove that sometimes the cruelest rejection becomes the most beautiful gift. Because in exactly 6 months and 3 days, the daughter who publicly humiliated me would discover that everything she thought she knew about her real family was built on lies. But first, let me tell you about the secret I'd been keeping in my safe for 12 years. A secret that would soon turn Emma's world upside down. Which city are you listening from today? I love seeing where you're tuning in from in the comments. You see, I wasn't just a rejected stepmother. I was the keeper of a truth so devastating that when Emma finally learned it, she would realize that the woman she'd chosen over me had been manipulating our entire family for 18 years. To understand how one birthday party became the catalyst for the most shocking family revelation you've ever heard, I need to take you back to the beginning, because this story isn't just about a stepmother and stepdaughter. It's about DNA, deception, and the moment a young woman discovered that her entire identity was built on lies. For 12 years, since Emma was 6 years old, my life revolved completely around that little girl who became my whole world. Every morning at 6:30, I woke up to make her breakfast. Chocolate chip pancakes on weekdays. She said they gave her luck for tests. French toast on Sundays, because that was our special tradition. What I didn't know then was that every single day I was raising Emma, I was also protecting a lie that would eventually destroy everything. At 7:15, I braided her hair. Simple braids when she was little, then the complex styles she wanted as a teenager. She'd sit on the bathroom counter while I worked, telling me about her dreams of becoming a marine biologist and swimming with dolphins. At 7:45, I drove her to school, Riverside Elementary, then Jefferson Middle, then Lincoln High. For 12 years, I never missed a single drop-off, not when I had the flu, not when my car broke down, not even the morning after my mother's funeral. But here's what makes this story different from every other stepmother tale you've heard. At 3:30 every afternoon, I was there waiting. Emma would come out looking for my silver Honda, and when she spotted me, her face would light up with that smile that made every sacrifice worth it. She'd jump in and tell me about her day, the good, the bad, the teenage drama that seemed so important. Except Emma's biological mother had given me something the day she signed over custody, something that would soon prove that every story Linda had told us was a carefully constructed lie. From 4 to 7, she was at my house. Homework at the kitchen table while I prepared dinner. Math problems that frustrated her, English essays I helped her edit, science projects we worked on until midnight. She wanted to study marine biology at UC San Diego. She had it all planned out, until her plans were about to change in the most devastating way possible. At 7, I'd drive her home with dinner already prepared. Lasagna, grilled chicken, tacos, whatever I knew she'd eat without complaining. Robert would arrive from his engineering job around 8, tired, but always asking about Emma's day. This was my life. 12 years, 4,280 days of complete dedication. I didn't receive a penny for it, and I never asked. Emma was my joy, my purpose, my reason for living. But what Emma didn't know was that her biological mother, Linda, had given me something the day she signed over custody. Something I'd kept locked in my safe for 12 years. Something that would soon prove that the woman Emma was about to choose over me had been manipulating our entire family. Linda had been Robert's high school girlfriend. They'd dated for 2 years, broken up when they went to different colleges, and hadn't spoken in over a decade. Then suddenly, she appeared at his apartment, 6 months pregnant, claiming the baby was his. Robert was a good man. He didn't question it. He accepted responsibility immediately. That's when he met me at a single-parent support group. I was a widow with no children. He was a soon-to-be father trying to figure it all out. We fell in love while preparing for Emma's arrival. I went to ultrasound appointments, helped set up the nursery, read parenting books. I was more excited about that baby than Linda seemed to be. When Emma was born, Linda took one look at her and said she couldn't handle motherhood. She was 28, had career ambitions, wanted to travel. She signed over custody to Robert when Emma was just 3 months old. But before she left, Linda did something strange. She gave me a sealed envelope, a small box, and her old phone with specific instructions. Only open these if Emma ever needs to know the truth about her father. I thought it was just sentimental items, maybe photos or letters for Emma to read when she was older. I put them in my safe and forgot about them. What I didn't know was that Linda's old phone contained text messages that would eventually prove she'd been lying about everything from day one. For 6 years, it was just Robert, Emma, and me. I became her mother in every way that mattered. First steps, first words, first day of school. I was there for nightmares, bike riding lessons, first heartbreak in middle school. Emma called me Mom from the time she could talk. I legally adopted her when she was 8. For 4 beautiful years, I thought we were a complete family. Then Linda came back. Emma was 12 when Linda suddenly reappeared, claiming she'd found herself and wanted a relationship with her daughter. She was successful now, working in marketing in Los Angeles, driving a BMW, wearing designer clothes. And Emma was fascinated. Linda was everything I wasn't. Young, glamorous, exciting. She told Emma stories about her travels, her career, her adventures. She bought expensive gifts and made promises about trips to Europe and shopping sprees in New York. Slowly, I watched my daughter slip away. It started with small comments. Linda says I should think about modeling. Linda thinks I'm too smart for this small town. Linda says I have options I don't even know about. By 16, Emma had started calling me Maria instead of Mom. She said it felt more honest since Linda was her real mother. Each time she said it, it felt like a knife to my heart. But I endured it because I loved her. I thought it was just a phase, teenage rebellion, natural curiosity about her biological mother. I was wrong, and what I discovered on Emma's 18th birthday would prove that sometimes the people who try to push us out of their lives end up giving us exactly what we always wanted: the chance to prove that real love isn't about blood. The party was supposed to be perfect. I'd spent weeks planning Emma's 18th birthday celebration. I rented the community center, hired a DJ, ordered a 3-tier cake from her favorite bakery. I invited all her friends, our family, even some teachers who'd been important to her. Linda flew in from Los Angeles wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than I made in a month, carrying a gift bag from Tiffany & Co. Emma's eyes lit up when she saw her. What I didn't know was that Linda had come with a plan to destroy everything I'd built with Emma. But I pushed down that familiar pang of inadequacy. This was Emma's day. The party was going beautifully. Emma was laughing with friends, dancing, opening gifts. I stayed in the background, making sure everything ran smoothly, refilling punch, cutting cake, taking photos. That's what I did. I made sure everyone else was happy. Except I noticed something strange. Linda kept checking her phone, texting someone, looking nervous. At one point, I saw her delete a long thread of messages. Who was she talking to? It was around 9 o'clock when Linda asked for everyone's attention. She wanted to make a toast to Emma. I was even recording it on my phone, thinking it was sweet. Linda raised her champagne glass and began talking about how proud she was of the beautiful, intelligent young woman Emma had become. She talked about Emma's bright future, her potential, her dreams. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. And now that Emma is 18, she's free to make her own choices about her life and her family. She doesn't have to accept relationships that were imposed on her as a child. I felt the room shift. People were looking at me, then at Emma, sensing tension they didn't understand. Emma was staring at Linda with an expression I'd never seen before, determination mixed with something that looked like cruelty. That's when Emma stood up and asked for the microphone. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight," she began, her voice steady and clear. Turning 18 is special because it means I finally get to choose my own family. My heart started pounding. I knew what was coming, but I couldn't stop it. For too long, I've pretended that biology doesn't matter, that the people who raised you are automatically your real family. But that's not true. Real family is about blood, about genetics, about authentic connections. She looked directly at me then, and I saw a coldness I'd never seen before. Maria, you've been good to me. You've taken care of me, and I appreciate that. But you were never my real mom. You were just filling in. Now I can choose, and I choose my real family. I choose Linda. The silence in that room was deafening. 30 people staring at me, watching my heart break in real time. But Emma wasn't finished. I've decided to move to Los Angeles with Linda. I'm going to defer college for a year and explore opportunities there. It's time for me to be with my real mother and discover who I really am. What Emma didn't know was that in exactly 6 months, she would discover who she really was, and it would destroy everything she thought she knew about her real family. I don't remember much about the rest of that night. I know people tried to comfort me. I know Robert was furious, arguing with Emma and Linda. I know I somehow made it home and cried until I had no tears left. But I also made a decision that night. If Emma wanted to choose her real family, then I would respect that choice. I would step back completely and let her discover what real family actually meant. What I didn't do was open that envelope Linda had given me 12 years ago. Something held me back. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was hope that Emma would come to her senses. Maybe it was the knowledge that some truths, once revealed, can never be taken back. So I kept the secret, and I watched my daughter walk away. Emma moved to Los Angeles 3 days after her birthday. She packed while I was at work, leaving only a note. "Thank you for everything. I hope you understand." Robert was devastated. He couldn't understand how the daughter he'd raised could be so cruel. He wanted to cut off her college fund, force her to come home. But I stopped him. "Let her go," I said. "Let her learn what she needs to learn." For the first month, I heard nothing. No calls, no texts, no social media posts that included me. It was like 12 years of my life had been erased. Then updates started coming through Robert. Emma was working as a hostess at an upscale restaurant in Beverly Hills. She was taking acting classes. She was living in Linda's guest room and loving the California lifestyle. Each update felt like another small death. But what I started noticing was interesting. Emma's social media posts showed her at expensive restaurants, designer shopping trips, exclusive events. Linda was clearly spending a lot of money on her. Where was all this money coming from for someone who'd supposedly been too young and broke to raise a child 18 years ago? What I didn't know was that Emma was about to make a discovery that would change everything. It started with a college application. Emma had decided to apply to UCLA for the following year, pursuing a scholarship program for students of Hispanic heritage. Linda had always told her that Robert's family was Mexican-American, which would qualify her for the scholarship. The application required documentation of ethnic heritage, including DNA testing to verify ancestry claims. Emma thought it would be simple, a quick test to confirm what she'd always been told. She had no idea that DNA test would reveal a truth that would destroy everything she thought she knew about her family. The results came back on a Tuesday in September, exactly 6 months after her birthday party. Emma called the testing company 3 times, convinced there had been a mistake. The DNA showed no Hispanic heritage whatsoever. In fact, it showed a genetic background that was completely inconsistent with what she'd been told about her father. That's when Emma started asking questions. Real questions. Hard questions. Questions that Linda had been avoiding for 12 years. And that's when the lies started unraveling. But what Emma discovered next would prove that Linda's lies went much deeper than anyone imagined. I was at the grocery store when my phone rang. Tuesday afternoon in September, exactly 6 months and 3 days since Emma's birthday party. I almost didn't answer because I didn't recognize the number. But something made me pick up. "Maria." The voice was small, broken, nothing like the confident young woman who'd rejected me 6 months earlier. "Emma." My heart started racing. Are you okay? Are you hurt? I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. I abandoned my shopping cart right there in aisle 7 and walked to my car. What is it, sweetheart? Did you know? Her voice was barely a whisper. About my dad. Did you know he might not be my biological father? The question I'd been dreading for 12 years had finally come. Why are you asking me this, Emma? Because I took a DNA test for a scholarship, and the results don't make sense. They don't match what Linda told me about my heritage. And when I confronted her about it, she got defensive and angry and told me I was asking too many questions. I closed my eyes. The moment I'd been preparing for since Emma was born had finally arrived. Emma, there are some things about your birth that are complicated. Things that Linda asked me never to discuss with you. What kind of things? I could hear the desperation in her voice, the fear of a young woman whose entire identity was crumbling. I think you need to come home, I said quietly. There are some documents you need to see, some things I've been keeping safe for you. Documents? What documents? Things your mother gave me before she left. Things she made me promise to keep secret unless you ever needed to know the truth. There was a long silence. Then, she's not telling me the truth, is she? About my father? No, sweetheart. She's not. Emma started crying then, deep sobs that broke my heart. I don't know who I am anymore, Maria. I don't know what's real. You're Emma, I said firmly. You're the little girl who used to make me friendship bracelets. You're the teenager who cried on my shoulder when Jake Morrison broke your heart in 10th grade. You're the young woman who dreams of swimming with dolphins. That's who you are. But if Robert isn't my father, then who am I? What family do I belong to? You belong to the family that loves you, I said. You always have. 3 days later, Emma was on a plane back home. She looked different when I picked her up at the airport. Older, more fragile, like someone carrying a weight too heavy for her shoulders. We drove to my house in silence. I'd spent those 3 days preparing, getting out the box I'd kept locked in my safe for 12 years. The box Linda had given me with strict instructions. Only if she ever needs to know the truth about her father. I'd always wondered what Linda meant by that. Now I was about to find out. Emma sat on my couch, the same couch where she'd done homework for years, and watched as I opened the box. Inside were letters, photos, Linda's old phone, and a sealed envelope marked, "For Emma, only if necessary." Linda gave me this the day she signed over custody, I explained. She said there were things about your birth that were complicated, and that someday you might need to know the truth. Emma's hands were shaking as she took the envelope. What kind of truth? I don't know. I never opened it. Linda made me promise. But first, I pulled out my phone and showed Emma something I'd been saving for 12 years. Screenshots of Linda's inconsistent stories about her whereabouts during Emma's conception, her changing explanations about the timeline, her contradictory social media posts from that period. Technology doesn't lie, even when people do, I said quietly. Emma stared at the evidence for a long time. Then, with trembling fingers, she broke the seal on the envelope. Inside was a letter in Linda's handwriting, dated 18 years ago. Emma read it silently, her face growing paler with each line. When she finished, she looked up at me with eyes full of devastation. She knew, Emma whispered. She knew Robert wasn't my father, and she lied to everyone. What does the letter say? Emma handed it to me with shaking hands. As I read Linda's words, I understood why she'd made me promise to keep it secret. The letter revealed that Linda had been involved with 2 men around the time Emma was conceived. Robert and his younger brother Michael. She'd known there was a possibility that either could be Emma's father, but she'd chosen to tell Robert he was the father because he was more financially stable and emotionally mature. But the letter revealed something even more shocking. Linda had suspected all along that Michael was actually Emma's biological father. She'd seen the resemblance as Emma grew older, noticed traits that were distinctly Michael's rather than Robert's. Linda had always been confused about dates. Funny how her confusion always seemed to benefit her financially. The letter ended with an apology. If Emma ever needs to know the truth, it's because she's discovered inconsistencies that can't be explained any other way. I'm sorry for the lies, but I thought I was protecting everyone. The truth is that Michael is probably her real father, but Robert has been her real dad. I hope she can understand the difference. Emma was staring at me with shock and devastation. Uncle Michael is my father. Uncle Michael, who I've known my whole life, who comes to Christmas dinner and brings me birthday presents and taught me how to fish. I nodded, my own mind reeling. Michael was Robert's younger brother, a carpenter who lived about an hour away with his wife Sarah and their 2 sons. Emma had grown up knowing him as her fun uncle, never suspecting he was actually her biological father. Does Robert know? Emma asked. I don't think so. And Michael, does he know? I doubt it. If he knew, don't you think he would have said something? Then I showed Emma Linda's old phone. The messages were still there, texts between Linda and Michael from 18 years ago, conversations that proved Linda knew exactly who Emma's father was and had deliberately chosen to lie about it. Emma stood up and started pacing. So, my whole life has been a lie. Robert isn't my father. Linda knew it and lied about it. And my real father has been right there the whole time, not knowing I'm his daughter. Emma, I said gently, Robert may not be your biological father, but he's been your dad in every way that matters. He's the one who got up with you when you had nightmares. He's the one who taught you to drive. He's the one who's been saving for your college education since you were born. But it's all based on a lie, she exploded. No, I said firmly. The love isn't fake. The relationships aren't fake. The only thing that's fake is the story Linda told about your conception. Emma collapsed back onto the couch, tears streaming down her face. I rejected you. I rejected Robert. I chose Linda because I thought she was my real family, but she's the one who's been lying this whole time. She was young and scared, I said, though I wasn't sure why I was defending Linda. And you? Emma looked at me with red, swollen eyes. You knew there was a secret, and you never told me? I promised Linda I wouldn't unless you needed to know. And honestly, I hoped you'd never need to know. I hoped the love we shared would be enough. The love we shared, Emma repeated slowly. You mean the love I threw away because I thought blood was more important than choice? I reached over and took her hand. Emma, you're 18 years old. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to question everything and figure out who you are. But I hurt you. I hurt Robert. Yes, you did. And it broke our hearts. But we never stopped loving you. Emma started crying again, harder this time. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to face Robert, knowing he's not my biological father. I don't know how to face Michael, knowing he is. And I don't know how to face you, knowing I rejected the one person who loved me unconditionally. You start by telling the truth, I said, to everyone. And then you figure out what family means to you now that you know the whole story. Emma looked at me with something that might have been hope. Will you help me? Will you be there when I tell them? Of course, I said without hesitation. That's what mothers do. For the first time in 6 months, Emma smiled. You really are my mom, aren't you? Not because of biology, but because you chose to be. I chose to be your mother the day you were born, I said, and I choose it again every day. What we didn't know was that the hardest part was still ahead of us, because telling the truth to Robert and Michael would change our family forever, and not everyone would handle it as well as we hoped. But first, we had to prepare for the storm that was coming, because by the next morning, half the neighborhood would know. Small towns don't keep secrets, especially ones this explosive. The family meeting was scheduled for Sunday dinner, 3 days after Emma's return. I'd called Robert and asked him to invite Michael and his family over, saying that Emma had something important to discuss with everyone. Robert was thrilled that Emma was home and wanted to talk. He'd been heartbroken by her rejection and desperate to rebuild their relationship. He spent the morning cooking her favorite meal, barbecue ribs with his special sauce, corn on the cob, and homemade coleslaw. Michael arrived with his wife Sarah and their 2 boys, Jake and Connor, ages 15 and 12. Emma had grown up thinking of them as her cousins, playing with them at family gatherings, never knowing they were actually her half-brothers. Watching Emma interact with Michael that afternoon was surreal. Now that I knew the truth, I could see the resemblances I'd somehow missed before. They had the same laugh, the same way of tilting their heads when thinking, the same habit of drumming their fingers when nervous. How had none of us noticed? We made it through dinner with normal conversation. Emma talking about Los Angeles, Michael updating us on his latest construction project, the boys complaining about school. But I could see the tension in Emma's shoulders, the way she kept glancing at me for reassurance. Finally, after dessert, Emma cleared her throat and asked for everyone's attention. "I need to tell you all something," she began, her voice shaking slightly. "Something I discovered while I was in California. Something that changes everything." Robert reached over and squeezed her hand. "Whatever it is, sweetheart, we'll figure it out together." Emma's eyes filled with tears at his kindness. "That's just it, Dad. You've always been there for me, always supported me, even when I didn't deserve it, especially when I didn't deserve it." "Emma, you don't need to apologize again," Robert said. "You're young. You were figuring things out." "No, you don't understand. Not yet." Emma took a deep breath. "I took a DNA test for a college scholarship, and the results, they showed that everything Linda told us about my heritage was wrong." Michael's wife, Sarah, looked confused. "What do you mean, wrong?" Emma pulled out the DNA results, Linda's letter, and the old phone with the preserved text messages. "I mean that Linda lied about who my father is. She's been lying for 18 years. The room went completely silent. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall, the boys playing video games in the next room, the distant hum of traffic outside. Robert was staring at the papers in Emma's hands. "I don't understand." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that according to this DNA test, you're not my biological father." Emma's voice broke on the words. "And according to this letter that Linda wrote 18 years ago, and these text messages she sent, she knew it." Robert's face went white. That's impossible. Linda told me, she said..." "She lied." Emma handed him the letter and showed him the phone. "She was involved with 2 men when I was conceived. You and..." She looked at Michael, who was sitting frozen in his chair. "And Uncle Michael." The silence that followed was deafening. Michael was staring at Emma like he'd never seen her before. Sarah's mouth was hanging open. Robert was reading Linda's letter with shaking hands. "This can't be right," Michael finally said, his voice barely a whisper. "Linda and it was just a few times. She said she was on birth control. She said there was no way." "You knew?" Robert's voice was sharp, angry. "You knew you'd slept with her?" Michael's face was red with shame. "It was before you two got serious. She came to me crying, saying you'd broken up with her. I thought I was comforting her. I didn't know she was lying about the breakup." "How many times?" Robert demanded. "Robert, please," I interjected. "This isn't about blame." "How many times?" Robert stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "My brother slept with my girlfriend and might be the father of the child I've been raising for 18 years, and you want to talk about moving forward?" Emma started crying. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just needed to know the truth." Michael stood up too, his face pale. "Robert, I swear to you, I had no idea. If I'd known there was even a possibility that Emma was mine, I would have told you immediately." "Would you?" Robert's voice was cold. "Or would you have let me keep raising your daughter while you played the fun uncle?" "That's not fair," Sarah spoke up, defending her husband. "Michael didn't know." "But Linda knew," Emma said quietly, showing them the text messages on the old phone. "Look at these. She knew exactly what she was doing. She chose you, Robert, because you had a stable job and Michael was married with less money. Have you ever discovered something that changed everything you thought you knew about your family? Because what happened next would test every bond we thought was unbreakable." Robert was pacing now, running his hands through his hair. 18 years. 18 years I've been her father. I was there when she was born. I changed her diapers. I taught her to ride a bike. And you're still her father, I said firmly. Biology doesn't change that, doesn't it? Robert turned to look at Emma. Is that why you rejected me? Is that why you chose Linda? Because somehow you knew I wasn't your real father? No, Emma jumped up. I rejected you because I was stupid and selfish and thought that blood was more important than love. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Michael was staring at Emma with wonder and pain. You're my daughter, my actual daughter. I have a daughter I never knew about. You have 2 sons, Sarah said sharply. Remember them? Of course I remember them. But Emma, she's been right here all along. All those Christmases, all those birthdays. She's been my daughter, and I never knew. Jake and Connor had wandered into the dining room, drawn by the raised voices. What's going on? Jake asked. Why is everyone yelling? The adults all looked at each other, realizing that this revelation affected more than just the 4 of us. These boys were about to learn that their cousin was actually their half-sister. Sit down, boys, Michael said quietly. There's something we need to tell you. What followed was one of the most difficult conversations I've ever witnessed. Michael and Sarah explaining to their sons that Emma was actually their half-sister. The boys' confusion, their questions, their struggle to understand how the family they'd always known had suddenly changed. Connor, the 12-year-old, asked the question that cut deepest. Does this mean Emma isn't our cousin anymore? Does this mean our family is different now? Family isn't about labels, I found myself saying. Family is about love, and we all love each other just as much as we did this morning, before we knew the truth. But even as I said it, I could see that everything had changed. Robert was looking at Emma like she was a stranger. Michael was looking at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Sarah was looking at her like she was a threat to her own family's stability. And Emma was looking at all of us like she'd broken something precious that could never be repaired. I should go, Emma said quietly. I should go back to California. I've caused enough damage here. No, I said firmly. Running away won't fix this. We're a family, and families work through difficult truths together. Are we still a family? Robert asked, and the pain in his voice was heartbreaking. Because I don't know what we are anymore. That's when Emma did something that surprised everyone. She walked over to Robert and hugged him tightly. You're my dad, she said, her voice muffled against his shoulder. You've always been my dad. Biology doesn't change that. I'm sorry it took me so long to understand what that means. Robert stood stiffly for a moment, then slowly wrapped his arms around her. I love you, Emma. That will never change. But I need some time to process all of this. I understand, Emma said. Take all the time you need. But as the evening ended and everyone went their separate ways, I could see that this revelation had created fractures in our family that might never fully heal. What none of us realized was that Linda was about to make one final play that would test every relationship we'd been trying to rebuild. Because 2 weeks later, she would call Emma with an ultimatum that would force my daughter to choose once and for all between the family that had lied to her and the family that had loved her. And by the next morning, half the neighborhood knew. Small towns don't keep secrets, especially ones this explosive. The grocery store clerk asked me how I was handling everything. The mailman gave me a sympathetic look. Even my hairdresser called to check on me. But what happened next would prove that sometimes the biggest storms lead to the clearest skies. 2 weeks after the family revelation, Linda called Emma. She'd heard through mutual friends that Emma was back home, and she wanted to know why her daughter had abandoned their new life in Los Angeles. Emma was staying with me while everyone processed the truth about her paternity. Robert needed space. Michael was struggling with his newfound fatherhood, and Emma was trying to figure out where she belonged in this new family dynamic. When Linda's call came, Emma put it on speaker so I could hear. Emma, darling, what are you doing back in that small town? Linda's voice was bright and cheerful, as if nothing had changed. I thought we agreed that you were going to build a new life here with me. We need to talk, Linda, Emma said, her voice steady but cold. I know about the letter. I know about Michael. I know about the text messages. There was a long pause. Then, what letter? What messages? The letter you gave Maria 18 years ago. the one where you admitted that Michael is probably my biological father, and the text messages on your old phone where you discussed choosing Robert because he had more money. Another pause, longer this time. Emma, I don't know what you think you've discovered, but I have everything, Linda. In your handwriting, your own text messages, and I have DNA results that prove Robert isn't my father. The silence stretched so long, I thought the call had dropped. Then Linda's voice came back, different now, sharper, more defensive. You had no right to go through private documents. That letter was never meant for you to see. Then why did you write it? Why did you give it to Maria? Why did you keep those text messages? Because I was young and confused and trying to do the right thing for everyone involved. The right thing? Emma's voice rose. The right thing would have been telling the truth from the beginning. The truth would have destroyed 2 families, Linda snapped. Michael was married. Robert was single and ready to be a father. I made the choice that caused the least damage. Except you didn't make that choice, I interjected, unable to stay silent any longer. You made the choice that was easiest for you. You let Robert raise another man's child while Michael never knew he had a daughter. Maria, this doesn't concern you. Linda's voice turned icy. This is between me and my daughter. Your daughter? Emma laughed bitterly. You mean the daughter you abandoned when she was 3 months old? The daughter you ignored for 12 years? The daughter you only wanted back when she could serve your purposes? I gave you opportunities, Emma. I showed you a bigger world than that small town could offer. You showed me lies, Emma said. Everything you told me was a lie. About my heritage, about my father, about why you left. You didn't leave because you were young and scared. You left because you didn't want the responsibility. That's not true. Then come here, Emma interrupted. Come here and face Robert and Michael and explain to them why you let them live a lie for 18 years. I'm not going back there. That part of my life is over. Then this conversation is over too, Emma said, because I'm done with your lies. Emma, wait! Linda's voice changed, became pleading. You don't understand the position I was in. I was trying to protect everyone. You were protecting yourself, Emma said quietly. And you know what? I understand that now. Because 6 months ago, I was just like you. I was selfish and cruel, and I hurt the people who loved me most because I thought I deserved something better. You do deserve better. I deserve the truth. And the truth is that Maria has been more of a mother to me than you ever were. The truth is that Robert has been more of a father to me than any biological connection could make him. And the truth is that you're not my family. You're just the woman who gave birth to me. At what point would you have said enough to someone manipulating your family? Because what Linda said next would cross every line imaginable. Linda's voice turned cold and calculating. Fine. If that's how you want it, then you can figure out your college tuition on your own. You can figure out your future on your own. And don't think Robert's going to pay for anything now that he knows you're not really his daughter. Don't come crying to me when that small-town life doesn't give you the opportunities you could have had. I won't, Emma said simply. Because I finally understand what real opportunities look like. They look like people who love you unconditionally. They look like people who show up every day, not just when it's convenient. They look like family that's chosen, not just inherited. You're making the biggest mistake of your life, Linda said. Those people will never understand your potential. They'll keep you small, keep you limited. I was offering you the world. No, Emma said firmly. You were offering me your world. A world built on lies and manipulation and using people for what they can give you. I don't want that world. Linda hung up without another word. Emma sat in silence for a moment, then looked at me with tears in her eyes. I can't believe I chose her over you. I can't believe I was so blind. You weren't blind, I said gently. You were 18 and searching for your identity. That's normal. But I hurt you. I hurt Robert. I said terrible things. Yes, you did. But you also came back. You told the truth. You're trying to make things right. That's what matters now. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Do you think Robert will ever forgive me? Do you think we can be a family again? I think Robert loves you more than his own life, I said. But he's hurt and confused right now. Give him time. And Michael? How do I even begin to have a relationship with my biological father when I've known him as my uncle my whole life? One conversation at a time, I said. One day at a time. That evening, Emma asked me to call Robert and Michael. She wanted to have another family meeting, but this time, she wanted to be the one to set the terms. They came over the next night, Robert, Michael, and Sarah. The boys stayed home this time. We all agreed they'd heard enough difficult truths for a while. Emma had prepared what she wanted to say. She'd written notes, practiced in the mirror, tried to find the right words to heal the damage she'd caused. I asked you all here because I need to say some things, and I need you to hear them, she began. First, I want to apologize, not just for the things I said at my birthday party, but for the way I've handled this whole situation. I was selfish and cruel, and I hurt people I love. Robert started to speak, but Emma held up her hand. Please let me finish. I need to get this all out. She took a deep breath. Robert, you are my father. Not because of biology, but because of choice. You chose to love me before I was even born. You chose to raise me when my biological mother walked away. You chose to be there for every important moment of my life. That makes you my real father in every way that matters. Robert's eyes filled with tears, but he remained silent. Michael, I don't know how to have a relationship with you as my biological father when you've been my uncle my whole life, but I'd like to try to figure it out, if you're willing. I'd like to get to know you in this new way, while still respecting the family you've built with Sarah and the boys. Michael nodded, his own eyes wet. I'd like that too. And Maria, Emma turned to me. I don't know how to apologize for rejecting the one person who loved me unconditionally. I don't know how to make up for the pain I caused you, but I want you to know that you are my mother. You've always been my mother. Not because you gave birth to me, but because you chose to love me every single day for 12 years. And if you'll let me, I'd like to choose you back. I was crying now, unable to speak. I know I can't undo the damage I've caused, Emma continued. I know I can't take back the things I said, but I can choose how to move forward, and I choose all of you. I choose this family, this complicated, messy, imperfect family, because this is where I belong. Robert stood up then and walked over to Emma. You're my daughter, he said simply. You always have been, and you always will be. Biology doesn't change that. He hugged her tightly, and I saw 18 years of love and dedication in that embrace. Michael joined them, awkwardly at first, then with growing confidence. I may be your biological father, he said, but Robert is your dad. I don't want to change that. I just want to be part of your life in whatever way feels right. Sarah, who had been quiet through most of the conversation, finally spoke up. This is going to take some adjustment for all of us. But Emma, you've been part of our family for 18 years. That doesn't change just because we know the truth now. As I watched my family, my chosen family, embrace and begin to heal, I realized that Emma's rejection had led us to something beautiful. It had forced us to examine what family really means, to choose each other consciously rather than just accepting the relationships we'd inherited. Linda had been wrong about so many things, but she'd been right about one. Family is about choice. Emma had chosen Linda for 6 months and discovered that biology without love is meaningless. Now she was choosing us, and we were choosing her back. But what happened next would prove that our biggest test was still coming. Because 3 days later, Linda would make one final desperate move that would either destroy our family forever or prove once and for all that chosen love is stronger than blood. 3 days after our family meeting, Linda showed up at my door unannounced. I was making breakfast when the doorbell rang. Emma was still asleep upstairs. She'd been staying with me while we all adjusted to our new reality. When I opened the door and saw Linda standing there with 2 suitcases, my heart sank. I need to see Emma, she said without preamble. I need to explain some things. Linda, I don't think that's a good idea. Emma's been through enough. She's my daughter, Linda interrupted. I have rights. Actually, you don't, I said calmly. You signed away your parental rights 18 years ago. Emma is an adult now, and she's made her choice. Linda pushed past me into the house. "Emma!" she called up the stairs. "Emma, I know you're here. We need to talk." Emma appeared at the top of the stairs in her pajamas, looking confused and alarmed. "Linda, what are you doing here?" "I came to bring you home," Linda said. "I came to fix this mess before it destroys your future." Emma came down the stairs slowly, and I could see her gathering her strength. "There's nothing to fix, Linda. I know the truth now." "The truth?" Linda laughed bitterly. "The truth is that I was trying to protect you from exactly this kind of small-town drama. The truth is that I gave you a chance at a real life, and you're throwing it away for people who will never understand your potential." "My potential?" Emma's voice was getting stronger. "You mean my potential to be just like you? To lie and manipulate and hurt people to get what I want?" "I never lied to you." "You lied about everything," Emma exploded. "You lied about my father. You lied about why you left. You lied about wanting a relationship with me. You only came back because you were lonely and thought I could fill some void in your life." Linda's mask was slipping now. "I came back because I realized I'd made a mistake. I realized I wanted to be your mother." "You had 18 years to be my mother," Emma said quietly. "Maria was my mother. She was there for every scraped knee, every broken heart, every important moment. You were just absent. But I'm your real mother." "No," Emma said firmly. "You're my biological mother. There's a difference. A real mother is someone who chooses to love you every day, not someone who shows up when it's convenient." Linda looked around the house, at the photos of Emma growing up, at the artwork still hanging on the refrigerator from when she was little, at all the evidence of a life lived and loved. "You're making a mistake," she said finally. "These people will hold you back. This town will limit you. I can give you opportunities they never could." "Like what?" Emma asked. "Like the opportunity to abandon my children when they become inconvenient? Like the opportunity to lie to everyone I love? Like the opportunity to choose money and status over family?" Linda's face hardened. "Fine. If you want to waste your life in this nowhere town with these people, that's your choice. But don't come crying to me when you realize what you've given up." "I won't," Emma said, "because I finally understand what I would have given up if I'd stayed with you. I would have given up the people who actually love me." Linda picked up her suitcases and headed for the door. But before she left, she turned back one more time. "You'll regret this, Emma. When you're stuck here with no opportunities, no future, you'll remember that I offered you something better." "You're right," Emma said. "You did offer me something. You offered me the chance to learn the difference between real family and fake family. You offered me the chance to appreciate the people who've always been there for me. So thank you, Linda. Thank you for showing me exactly who I don't want to be." Linda left without another word. I never saw her again. Emma and I stood in the doorway watching her drive away. Then Emma turned to me with tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm sorry you had to deal with that. I'm sorry I ever put you through any of this." "Don't apologize," I said, pulling her into a hug. "You handled that beautifully. You stood up for yourself, for us, for what's right. I can't believe I almost chose that life. I can't believe I almost walked away from everything real for something so fake." "But you didn't," I said. "You came back. You chose love over lies. That's what matters." Over the next few months, our family slowly healed and rebuilt itself. Robert and Emma had long conversations about what it means to be a father and daughter. They decided that biology was irrelevant. Their bond was built on 18 years of love, and that was unbreakable. Michael found his place in Emma's life too. He didn't try to replace Robert as her father. Instead, he became something like a mentor and friend. They discovered they shared a love of woodworking, and he started teaching her carpentry skills. Emma said it was nice to have another adult in her life who understood her, who shared some of her traits and interests. Sarah and the boys adjusted to the new family dynamic better than anyone expected. Jake and Connor were initially confused about Emma being their half-sister instead of their cousin, but kids are remarkably adaptable. If anything, they were closer to Emma now, proud to have such a cool older sister. Emma enrolled at the local community college to study marine biology, planning to transfer to a 4-year university the following year. She still dreamed of swimming with dolphins, but now she talked about it as a career goal rather than an escape fantasy. She also started volunteering at the local aquarium, working with children's education programs. She said it helped her understand how important it is to have adults in your life who are committed to your growth and happiness. 6 months after Linda's final visit, Emma and I were having our usual Sunday morning pancakes when she brought up something that had been on her mind. "I want to start a support group," she said, "for kids in blended families, kids who are struggling with questions about identity and belonging." "That's a beautiful idea," I said. "What made you think of it?" "I keep thinking about how lost I was, how confused I was about what family meant. And I think there are probably other kids out there who are dealing with similar questions. Maybe if they had a place to talk about it, they wouldn't make the same mistakes I did." We started the support group that fall. It met once a month in our living room, and it grew from just Emma and me to over 20 families. Emma shared her story about learning the difference between biological family and chosen family, and I talked about the challenges and rewards of loving a child who isn't biologically yours. The group became something special, a place where step-parents, adoptive parents, foster parents, and kids from all kinds of family situations could come together and talk about what family really means. Emma said it was her way of turning her mistakes into something helpful for others. "I hurt a lot of people when I was figuring out who I was," she told the group one evening. "But maybe if I can help other kids avoid making those same mistakes, then something good will come out of all that pain." 1 year after Emma's 18th birthday party, we decided to have another celebration. But this time, it was different. This time, we were celebrating not just Emma's birthday, but our family's journey to understanding what love really means. The party was smaller, more intimate, just family and close friends. Emma specifically requested that we keep it simple, saying she'd learned that the best celebrations are about the people you love, not the spectacle you create. As Emma blew out the candles on her 19th birthday cake, she made a wish out loud instead of keeping it secret. "I wish for many more years with my chosen family," she said, looking around the room at all of us. "I wish for the wisdom to never take love for granted again. And I wish for the courage to keep choosing the people who choose me back." Robert raised his glass. "To Emma, who taught us all what family really means." Michael added, "To second chances and new beginnings." Sarah chimed in, "To love that's stronger than biology." And I finished, "To the daughter who chose me back." As we toasted and laughed and shared stories, I thought about that devastating night a year ago when Emma rejected me in front of 30 people. At the time, it felt like the end of everything I'd built with her. But it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something even more beautiful. A relationship based on choice rather than obligation, on love rather than duty, on mutual respect rather than assumed roles. Emma was right when she said I was never her real mother. I was something better. I was her chosen mother, and she is my chosen daughter. Today, Emma is 20 years old. She's thriving in her marine biology program and has been accepted to UC San Diego for next year, the school she'd always dreamed of attending. She's confident, compassionate, and wise beyond her years. She still lives with me when she's home from school, and we've created new traditions together. Sunday morning pancakes while we read the newspaper. Evening walks around the neighborhood where we talk about everything and nothing. Movie nights where we watch old films, and Emma tells me about her dreams for the future. Our support group has grown to include families from 3 neighboring towns. Emma is studying to become a certified family counselor, saying she wants to help other families navigate the complex questions of identity and belonging. Robert and Emma have a relationship that's stronger than ever. The crisis forced them to examine their bond and choose each other consciously. Robert tells people that discovering Emma wasn't his biological daughter made him realize that being a father is about so much more than genetics. Michael has found his place in Emma's life as a biological father who respects the role Robert plays as her dad. They have a unique relationship, part father-daughter, part mentor-student, part friends. Emma says it's taught her that you can have more than one important adult in your life, and that love multiplies rather than divides. The boys, Jake and Connor, are now 17 and 14. They're proud of their big sister and often come to our support group meetings to share their perspective on what it's like when family dynamics change suddenly. As for Linda, we heard through mutual acquaintances that she moved to New York and is working in advertising. Emma says she hopes Linda finds happiness, but she's grateful their paths diverged when they did. I think Linda gave me the greatest gift possible, Emma told me recently. Not by giving birth to me, but by walking away and allowing me to be raised by people who truly wanted to be parents. And then by coming back just long enough to help me realize the difference between real love and fake love. The people who try to push us out of their lives sometimes end up giving us exactly what we always wanted: the chance to prove that real love isn't about blood. It's about showing up day after day, year after year, choice after choice. Emma rejected me on her 18th birthday, and 6 months later she begged me to come back. But the truth is, I never left. I was always here, waiting for her to realize that home isn't a place or a bloodline. It's the people who love you unconditionally and choose you every single day. And now, as I watch my daughter, my chosen daughter, build her future with confidence and purpose, I know that sometimes the most devastating rejection leads to the most beautiful redemption. If you're a step-parent who's ever felt like you don't quite belong, remember this: love makes you family. Choice makes you family. Showing up makes you family. DNA is just science, but family is love in action. Emma chose me, and I chose her back. And that choice, made freely and consciously, is stronger than any biological bond could ever be. At what point would you have said, enough? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story gave you strength, a super thanks keeps these stories coming. And if you're listening from another country, I love seeing where you're tuning in from around the world. Thank you for listening to our story. If it touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear that chosen family is real family. Subscribe for more real stories about the families we build, not just the ones we're born into. Until next time, keep choosing love.